And it's time for Lefties Losing It, and CNN continues to be the home of broken, tedious, afflicted souls who will spew any sort of rubbish on live television. The only exception appears to be Scott Jennings, the token conservative, the lone sane voice who happened to be there when Cameron Kasky, a typical soy boy lefty, was allowed to say this unchallenged by the host John Berman.
Appreciative that the president is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of, but you can't win them all.
Cameron's grateful that the president is being transparent about the Nobel Peace Prize and his desires for Greenland. Scott, what do you think about that?
You going to let that sit? Are we going to claim here on CNN that the president is part of a global sex trafficking ring, or?
Well,
I mean,
we're going to talk about the Epstein file. Scott, I will do the fact checking as we go along here.
Seriously, the host there, John Berman, makes hard left simpleton Abby Phillip, the usual host, look like an unbiased genius. The nerve of that CNN propagandist to say to Scott Jennings, "I'll do the fact checks, please." And the lawyers must have got in contact because that soy boy panelist was apologising profusely. He wrote, "I would like to retract my comments from CNN last night and truly apologise. Donald Trump was obviously not involved with a giant international child sex trafficking ring where women and children were systematically raped by elites. I said that by accident and didn't mean it." What? You defamed the president by accident? That's the story you're going to go with? Not sure that's going to save you in court, son. And let's not forget, you repeated that outrageous lie twice.
Repeat what you said about the global sex trafficking ring.
That Donald Trump was provably very involved with it.
Now, let's check in on some white women screaming abuse at a black man, calling him a race traitor, amongst other slurs, because he's enforcing the law as an ICE agent.
Be a race traitor?
See, again, y'all are throwing race into all of this. Nobody's throwing race into it.
You profile people for how they look. You profile people for how they look and how they speak. Without your mask on.
Perfectly sums up this madness. White liberal women screaming at a black man about racism. And here is another white leftist woman who is very proud of herself for lecturing a brown man about what he is allowed to think and who he is allowed to support. Sure, there's a word that describes that. Starts with R.
35-year-old kid in the coffee shop this morning was saying he's Republican. Young, brown, living in a blue state. I proceeded to embarrass him. He said something about a debate. I said, I do not debate with idiots. No, this is a civil war. You have not received the feedback, the consequence that your words are garbage and you're a bad person at this point. Let me communicate that to you. You're welcome.
Let's round out lefties for the week with this performance from former Canadian Prime Minister, now full-time himbo handbag, Justin Trudeau.
Pushing disinformation the way you have.
What is disinformation?
Irresponsible.
What, that people have died?
People in Canada to vaccinate.
I'm sorry, but that's
the COVID vaccine.
But that's not misinformation. My old cameraman's mother actually.
Them and you pushed them into jail.
My old cameraman's mother actually died after complications from the COVID vaccine. So is that misinformation? Oh, now you're laughing.
He's laughing. How was that diabolically dim-witted wannabe dictator ever elected Prime Minister? Canada, what is wrong with you? You let that male himbo, lock you down and arrest your truckers, seize their bank accounts. And I've got to say, Justin Trudeau's performance in Davos did not improve when he was joined by his current girlfriend, the supremely vacuous pop star and pretend astronaut Katy Perry.
Who paid for you to come here? Was it taxpayers? What do you make of the Federal Court of Appeal upholding the ruling that your martial law was illegal? They said you violated...
It's good to see you, Ezra. It's been a long time. How you been? How you been keeping?
Pretty well, but you didn't speak to me
I'm worried about you.
I don't think you have.
You stopped speaking to me after the boxing match. I never heard from you again.
That's not true. Every time we tried to come into contact with you, you had us arrested.
Let's bring in Newsweek's senior editor-at-large and Article 3 Project Senior Counsel Josh Hammer. Josh, Justin Trudeau deserves that and so much more. His style of leadership, that performative caring together with the gross ineptitude, just sums up his time in office and sums up the World Economic Forum as well.
Yeah, you kind of have to love Ezra Levant there of Rebel News at the end to just talk about how every time they tried to have a conversation that Trudeau moved to arrest Rebel News. I mean, that is just deliciously acerbic and pretty much directly on point because, frankly, Canadians' individual liberties, their collective common good, the country, and any way you measure the health of a citizenry or an individual citizen, it went down. It went down under Justin Trudeau. The Canadian economy went down. The Canadian standing on the world stage went down. It's really quite tragic. I mean, Justin Trudeau's predecessor, about a decade ago, Canada was led by Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper was an excellent leader there. Canada did not have to go in this direction. And earlier this year, it looked like Canada was going to shift back to the Tories, back to the Conservative Party there. Unfortunately, we end up getting this current slouch in office, Mark Carney. So a lot of self-inflicted wounds when it comes to our northerly neighbors here in America, which frankly kind of makes them the butt of a lot of jokes. That's probably why Trump was ridiculing them so much earlier on in his presidency, talking about annexing Canada and all of that there. Because Canada is, in theory, a first world country, but unfortunately, the day-to-day lives there is so utterly overrun by Islamization. It is so utterly desiccated by the roots of leftism when it comes to things like COVID vaccines there, when it comes to the transgender phenomenon, when it comes to sending in CPS, child protective services, to snatch up teenagers whose parents don't affirm their identity there. It's frankly becoming something of an Orwellian tyrannical state there. And Trudeau, as you said, deserves all this and much more.